Daniel Carter stood in the massive crystal hall feeling very small. The building was bigger than any stadium on Earth. 12 different alien species sat on floating platforms high above him. Their eyes, tentacles, and sensors all pointed down at the lone human representative. The air felt thick and heavy. Daniel could hear his own heartbeat as he waited for the High Arbiter to speak. Zeth Kalar was a giant insect-like creature with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. When it finally opened its mouth, the sound came out like grinding metal. "Human Representative Daniel Carter," the creature said. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision about your species." Daniel had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now. He had met with these aliens many times before. They had always been cold and distant but never hostile. Today felt different. Today felt dangerous. "Your species has been classified as a Class 7 expansionist threat," Zeth Kalar continued. "This classification requires immediate action." Around the hall, other alien representatives made strange sounds. Some clicked their claws, others buzzed their wings. Daniel realized they were all agreeing with whatever was about to happen. "Earth must accept biological containment protocols within 30 standard days," the High Arbiter announced. "Your population must be capped at current levels. Your expansion beyond the Sol system must cease permanently. Your military forces must be reduced by 90%. Daniel felt his blood run cold. They were essentially asking humanity to stop being human. No more exploration, no more growth, no more children beyond what they allowed. "And if Earth refuses?" Daniel asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "Then the Council will implement forced compliance measures," Zeth Kalar replied. "Your species will be contained by any means necessary." The words hit Daniel like a punch to the stomach. He had studied galactic history. He knew what forced compliance measures meant. It meant war. It meant the possible extinction of the human race. "I will relay your terms to my government," Daniel said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You have 30 days, the High Arbiter repeated. "Choose wisely, human." 3 days later, Daniel sat in the Oval Office on Earth. President Lisa Rodriguez looked tired. She had been in emergency meetings for 72 hours straight. Around the table sat the most important people in the human government. "Tell me about Project Defiance," the president said to General Patricia Hayes. The general opened a thick folder. "For the past 5 years, we've been preparing for this possibility. We've captured alien technology from crashed ships. We've studied their weapons and their ships. We've been building our own fleet in secret." Defense Secretary Alex Morgan leaned forward. "How many ships do we have?" 250 combat vessels, General Hayes replied. "Plus about 1,000 converted civilian ships. It's not much against a galactic empire, but it's something." "Doctor." Kevin Brooks, the head scientist for the project, cleared his throat. "The aliens have better technology, but they have one weakness. They've been fighting the same way for thousands of years. They follow rules. They're predictable. Humans don't fight that way." Captain Jake Sullivan had just returned from a deep space mission. His face was grim as he spoke. "I've seen what happens to species that refuse the Council's demands. The Karathi homeworld is a dead rock now. The Tillian colonies are empty space. They don't just defeat you, they erase you completely." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what they were facing. Commander Nicole Fisher, one of Earth's best pilots, had been quiet until now. "What about our advantages?" she asked. "We must have some." Dr. Brooks nodded. "We do. Human reflexes are faster than most alien species. We adapt quickly. We think outside the box. Our ships might be weaker, but we can repair them in the field, using parts from destroyed vessels. The aliens can't do that. We also have numbers," General Hayes added. "Every human can potentially be a soldier. Every civilian ship can become a fighter. The aliens have professional armies, but we have an entire species willing to fight for survival." President Rodriguez had been listening carefully. "What are our chances if we fight?" "Honestly," General Hayes said, "very low. Maybe 1 in 100. But if we surrender, our chances of surviving as a free species are 0. The president stood up and walked to the window. She could see people walking in the streets below, children playing, families living their lives. In 30 days, all of that might be gone. There's something else, Captain Sullivan said quietly. I intercepted some alien communications during my last mission. Not all the Council species want this war. Some of them think humanity should be given a chance, but the hardliners are in control right now. So we might have allies? Defense Secretary Morgan asked. Maybe. If we can prove that humans aren't the monsters they think we are. President Rodriguez turned back to the group. I've made my decision. We won't surrender our freedom without a fight. But I want to make one thing clear. We're not fighting to conquer anyone. We're fighting for the right to exist. We're fighting for the right to grow and explore and be human. 2 weeks later, Daniel Carter stood once again in the Crystal Hall. This time, he wasn't nervous. He was angry. He was tired of being threatened. He was tired of being told that humanity didn't deserve to live free. High Arbiter Zeth Kalar, he said in a loud, clear voice. I bring Earth's response to your ultimatum. The giant insect leaned forward. Speak. The United Earth government formally rejects your demands, Daniel announced. We reject your authority over human lives. We reject your right to limit our growth or expansion. We reject your threats. The hall erupted in alien sounds of shock and anger. None of them had expected this. For thousands of years, species had either submitted or been destroyed quickly. No one had ever declared war on the entire Galactic Council. Furthermore, Daniel continued, raising his voice over the noise. Earth hereby declares its intention to defend our species' right to exist and expand among the stars. We will fight for our freedom. We will fight for our future. And we will fight for any other species that faces the same threats we do today. Zeth Kalar's red eyes blazed with fury. You dare declare war on the Council? You are one small planet against 12 galactic civilizations. Daniel smiled grimly. Then it should be a fair fight. He turned and walked out of the hall, leaving the aliens in chaos behind him. War was coming to the galaxy. Humanity had just announced that they would rather die free than live as slaves. The message went out across space that night. Every alien world received the same broadcast. Humanity had chosen to fight. The greatest war in galactic history was about to begin. Admiral Vorthon looked out at the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 10,000 warships floated in the darkness of space, each one bigger than anything humanity had ever built. His reptilian face showed no emotion, but inside, he felt satisfaction. This would be the easiest war the Council had ever fought. Admiral, his aide reported, all fleets are ready. We can reach the Sol system in 18 months. Good, Vorthon replied. Make sure all ships understand the orders. Complete destruction of human military forces. Minimal civilian casualties, but total surrender required. Meanwhile, on Earth, the entire planet had become a giant factory. Every shipyard worked day and night. Every factory had been converted to build weapons and ships. General Patricia Hayes had not slept more than 4 hours a night since the war began. Status report, she said to Admiral Chris Parker, the new commander of Earth's Space Defense Force. We have 300 ships ready for combat, Parker replied. Another 200 will be finished in the next 6 months. Dr. Brooks has the new fighter program ready for testing. In a secret facility in Colorado, Dr. Kevin Brooks watched as the first swarm fighter rolled off the production line. It was small, fast, and cheap to build. More importantly, it could be piloted by almost anyone with basic training. The key is numbers, he explained to Maya Johnson, his chief engineer. We can't match their big ships, so we won't try. We'll build 1,000 fighters for every one of their battleships. Maya nodded as she looked at the production charts. The pilots are the real advantage, though. Human reflexes are naturally faster than most alien species. In a dogfight, that could make all the difference. Lieutenant Ryan Murphy climbed into his fighter for the first test flight. He had been a racing pilot before the war started. Now he was humanity's best hope for developing fighter tactics that could work against alien technology. The fighter felt different from anything he had flown before. It was more responsive, more alive somehow. When he pushed the controls, the ship reacted instantly. When he thought about turning left, The ship was already turning. "This is incredible," he said over the radio. "It's like the ship reads my mind." "Doctor," Brooks smiled as he watched from the control room. "That's exactly what it does. We've wired the controls directly into the pilot's nervous system. Thought becomes action with no delay." While the engineers built weapons, Intelligence Officer Captain Emma Davis worked on understanding the enemy. She had spent months studying captured alien technology and intercepted communications. "I think I found something important," she told General Hayes during their weekly meeting. "The aliens fight very differently from humans. They follow rules. Their battles are almost like dances. Everything is planned and predictable." "What does that mean for us?" the general asked. "It means we can surprise them. Their computers expect certain patterns. If we do something completely random, their targeting systems get confused." Captain Jake Sullivan had been testing this theory with his patrol fleet near Jupiter. His ships would fly in seemingly chaotic patterns, then suddenly form up for coordinated attacks. The alien scout ships they encountered couldn't predict where the humans would be next. "Controlled chaos," Sullivan called it. "We look disorganized, but we're actually following a plan. The aliens can't figure out what we're doing because we're not following their rules." Dr. Brooks made another breakthrough when he realized that human technology had unexpected advantages. Alien ships were built perfectly, with every component designed to work exactly as intended. Human ships were built to be fixed. "Look at this." He showed Maya a damaged fighter that had returned from a test mission. The pilot replaced the navigation system with parts from a toaster and a video game console. It actually works better than the original. This led to the Phoenix Protocol. Human ships were designed so that any part could be replaced with any other part, as long as someone was creative enough to make it work. Pilots started carrying toolkits instead of spare parts, knowing they could fix almost anything if they were smart enough. Colonel Ben Torres was in charge of defending Mars. The Red Planet had 3 million colonists who couldn't be evacuated in time. He had to find a way to protect them with only 50 ships and a handful of ground-based weapons. "We're going to turn the planet itself into a weapon," he announced to his staff. "Every mining laser becomes an anti-ship gun. Every dome becomes a fortress. Every colonist becomes a defender." The plan was desperate, but it might work. Mars had hundreds of industrial facilities that could be converted to military use. The colonists knew every tunnel and cave on the planet. If the aliens wanted to take Mars, they would have to fight for every meter. Major Tony Clark led the Cyber Warfare Division. His job was to hack into alien computer systems and disrupt their communications. It seemed impossible at first, but then Captain Davis brought him some captured alien equipment. "Their security is perfect," Clark explained, "but only against other aliens. They've never had to defend against human hackers. We think differently. We find weaknesses they never imagined." Working together, Clark and Davis developed a virus that could spread through alien networks. It didn't destroy anything. Instead, it changed small details in their communications. A fleet heading to Earth might receive orders to go to Jupiter instead. Supply convoys would be sent to empty systems. As the months passed, humanity's desperate preparations began to take shape. The Swarm Fighter program produced its first squadron of pilots. Lieutenant Murphy trained them personally, teaching them tactics that had never been used before in space combat. "Remember," he told his trainees, "you're not trying to destroy their big ships, you're trying to confuse them. Fly fast, shoot quick, and never be where they expect you to be." Admiral Parker coordinated the overall defense strategy from his command station in orbit around Earth. He had been a submarine commander before becoming an astronaut. Underwater warfare had taught him that small, stealthy vessels could defeat much larger enemies if they were smart about it. "We're going to fight like wolves," he told his captains. "Hit and run, strike from the shadows, make them afraid to travel, alone." The final piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. Captain Luke Anderson volunteered his destroyer squadron for a suicide mission to gather intelligence on alien shield technology. The mission would certainly result in the destruction of his ships, but the data they collected could save millions of lives. "We need to know how their shields work," General Hayes explained. "Your ships are fast enough to get close before they destroy you. The information you send back could change everything. Anderson didn't hesitate. When do we leave? As the alien fleet drew closer to the Sol system, humanity made its final preparations. Every ship was armed, every pilot was trained, every weapon was ready. They were still outnumbered 1,000 to 1, but they had something the aliens didn't expect. They had hope. Dr. Brooks stood in his laboratory, looking at his latest creation. The Unity drive could make human ships as fast as alien vessels, but only for a few minutes before the ship's engines burned out completely. It was a one-way trip, but it might be enough. Are you sure about this? Maya asked him. No, Brooks replied honestly, but I'm sure that we have to try. If we're going to lose, we're going to lose fighting. Across the system, millions of humans, prepared for the greatest battle in their species' history. They were afraid, but they were not alone. They were human, and humans never surrendered without a fight. The first alien ships appeared at the edge of the asteroid belt, like deadly silver dots against the black of space. Commander Nicole Fisher watched them through her ship's sensors, counting 12 massive vessels. Each one was 3 times larger than her converted mining ship. All units, this is Fisher, she spoke into her radio. Remember the plan. Use the asteroids for cover. Hit them fast and disappear. Don't try to be heroes. Her small fleet consisted of mining ships, cargo haulers, and a few military vessels. They looked like junk compared to the sleek alien warships, but Fisher had spent 10 years working in the asteroid belt. She knew every rock, every hiding place, every dangerous passage. The aliens moved in perfect formation, their sensors sweeping the area methodically. They expected to find a few primitive ships that would surrender quickly. Instead, they found nothing but empty space and floating rocks. Now, Fisher whispered. 20 human ships burst from behind the asteroids, firing everything they had. The aliens were caught completely off guard. Their shields flickered and sparked under the unexpected assault. 2 of the alien ships exploded before their commanders could react. All units, scatter, Fisher ordered. The human ships vanished back into the asteroid field as quickly as they had appeared. The aliens fired their massive weapons, but they only hit empty space and chunks of rock. Fisher's fleet had disappeared like ghosts. Admiral Forthon received the report with disbelief. Humans had destroyed 2 of his advanced scouts using mining equipment. It was impossible, but it had happened. Send 50 ships, he ordered. Wipe out every human vessel in that belt. Captain Jake Sullivan was retreating toward Mars with his patrol fleet when the alien reinforcements arrived. His 12 ships were facing 50 alien warships. Any military academy would call it suicide to even consider fighting. Captain, his communications officer reported, the aliens are demanding our surrender. Sullivan smiled grimly. Tell them we're too busy to surrender right now. What followed was the strangest chase in galactic history. Sullivan's ships flew in patterns that made no sense to alien tactical computers. They would split up, then suddenly regroup. They would retreat, then charge directly at their pursuers. Sometimes they would just stop and spin in circles. The alien ships couldn't predict where the humans would go next. Their targeting computers kept missing. Their formation broke apart as captains tried to follow the chaotic human movements. Meanwhile, Sullivan was leading them exactly where he wanted them to go. He had scattered cargo containers full of debris throughout this area of space weeks ago. The containers were invisible to alien sensors, designed to look like natural space junk. Execute Dispersal Pattern 7, he ordered. His ship spread out and opened fire on the containers. Millions of tiny metal fragments spread through space, creating a cloud of deadly projectiles. The alien ships, flying at high speed, ran straight into the trap. At those velocities, even a grain of sand could punch through hull armor. The alien formation disintegrated as ships tumbled out of control, their hulls shredded by the impact cloud. Sullivan had destroyed or disabled 30 enemy vessels without losing a single human ship. On Mars, Colonel Ben Torres watched the alien fleet approaching his planet. He had 50 ships and a population of 3 million to protect. The odds were impossible, but Torres had learned something important about fighting aliens. They always did exactly what their computers told them to do. Begin planetary bombardment. came the alien message. It was a formal declaration, broadcast, on all frequencies. The aliens were following their rules of war, giving advance notice of their attack. Torres smiled. Thank you for the warning. Every mining laser on Mars turned skyward. Every industrial facility that could generate power was connected to defensive systems. When the alien bombardment began, Mars fired back with everything it had. The aliens had expected to face primitive missiles and kinetic weapons. Instead, they encountered concentrated energy beams powerful enough to cut through asteroid rock. Their shields, designed to stop projectiles, offered little protection against sustained laser fire. Lieutenant Ryan Murphy launched from Luna Base with the first squadron of swarm fighters. His pilots were nervous but determined. Most of them had been civilian pilots just months ago. Now they were humanity's elite strike force. Remember your training, Murphy said over the radio. These ships respond to your thoughts. Don't think about what you're going to do, just do it. The alien fleet over Mars detected the approaching fighters and launched interceptors. Sleek alien vessels moved to eliminate what they assumed would be easy targets. They had never faced anything like human fighter pilots. Murphy dove straight at the largest alien ship, then pulled up at the last second, skimming just meters above its hull. His fighters' guns raked the ship's surface, finding weak points in its armor. Behind him, his squadron scattered in all directions, each pilot following their own instincts. The alien interceptors couldn't keep up. They were programmed to fight other aliens who flew in predictable patterns. Human pilots flew like they were still racing through asteroid fields or dodging thunderstorms. No computer could predict what they would do next. Murphy watched one of his pilots, a former crop duster, named Carol White, fly directly through the exhaust plume of an alien engine. Her ship should have been destroyed by the heat and radiation. Instead, she emerged from the glowing cloud and destroyed the alien vessel with a single shot to its reactor. How did you survive that? Murphy asked over the radio. I don't know, Carol replied. I just thought really hard about not dying. The enhanced neural interfaces Dr. Brooks had developed were working better than anyone had expected. The pilots weren't just controlling their ships. They were becoming part of them. Captain, Emma Davis monitored the battle from Earth, analyzing every piece of data they collected. Her intelligence work was paying off. The aliens were responding exactly as she had predicted. They're creatures of habit, she explained to General Hayes. When Plan A fails, they move to Plan B. When Plan B fails, they move to Plan C. They never skip steps. They never improvise. What's their next move? The general asked. They'll call for reinforcements and try to overwhelm us with numbers, Davis replied. But that gives us an opportunity. If we can hack their communication network, we can turn their own tactics against them. Major Tony Clark had been working on this problem for months. The virus he and Davis had developed was ready for deployment. It just needed a way into the alien network. Captain Luke Anderson provided that opportunity. His destroyer squadron volunteered for a suicide mission to get close enough to an alien command ship to plant the virus. The 4 ships accelerated directly toward the center of the alien formation. This is Anderson, he broadcast to the fleet. Remember us as the guys who opened the door. The alien weapons tore his ships apart, but not before they transmitted the virus directly into the command ship's computers. Within hours, the virus had spread through the entire alien communication network. Suddenly, alien fleets across the galaxy began receiving contradictory orders. Supply ships were sent to empty systems. Reinforcements were directed to the wrong coordinates. The perfectly organized alien war machine began to fall apart, but the real breakthrough came when Davis discovered something unexpected in the intercepted alien communications. Not all of the Council species supported this war. Look at this, she showed General Hayes a decoded message. The Aquatic Federation is questioning the attack orders. The Crystal Collective wants to negotiate. At least 3 species think this war is wrong. Can we contact them directly? Hayes asked. Maybe, if we can prove that we're not the monsters they think we are. The opportunity came when a damaged alien hospital ship drifted into human space, its crew dying from radiation poisoning. Every human military leader wanted to capture it for intelligence. Instead, Captain Sullivan made a different choice. He rescued them. Sullivan's medical team worked for 18 hours straight to save the alien crew. When they succeeded, the grateful aliens couldn't believe what had happened. No one had ever told them that humans would risk their own lives to save enemies. The alien doctor, a being called Healer Suthaval, asked to speak with Sullivan personally. "Why did you help us?" the creature asked. "We came here to destroy your world." "Because you were hurt," Sullivan replied simply. "That's what humans do. We help people who are hurt." The conversation was recorded and broadcast across the galaxy. For the first time, alien civilians saw humans as something other than bloodthirsty monsters. They saw people who valued life, even alien life. Admiral Vorthon was furious when he learned about the rescue. "Destroy that hospital ship," he ordered. "Kill the humans who helped them." But his own officers hesitated. Some of them had families on the worlds that were now seeing humans in a new light. The absolute unity of the Council was beginning to crack. Meanwhile, Dr. Brooks completed his most ambitious project yet. The Unity drive was tested and ready for deployment. Human ships could now match alien speeds, but only for a few minutes, before their engines burned out. "It's a one-way trip," he warned Admiral Parker. "Any ship that uses this will be destroyed in the process." "How many volunteers do we need?" Parker asked. The answer surprised everyone. Every human pilot in the fleet volunteered for suicide missions. The secret meeting took place on a neutral space station in the Vega system. Ambassador Daniel Carter sat across from 3 alien representatives who had risked everything to come here. The Aquatic Federation's delegate, Wave Speaker Korthul, spoke first through a translation device. "Our people are horrified by what they have seen," the aquatic being said. "The rescue of our hospital ship has been broadcast across our worlds. Many now question whether this war is justified." Crystalline entity resonance of truth from the Crystal Collective chimed in agreement. The harmonic frequencies of human behavior suggest a species capable of great compassion. This conflicts with Council propaganda. The third delegate, Fleet Tuit, Wanderer Zex from the Nomad fleets, leaned forward. "My people have always valued freedom above all else. We see in humanity a kindred spirit. You fight not to conquer, but to remain free." Carter felt hope for the first time since the war began. "What can we do to end this conflict?" "The hardliners still control the Council," Wave Speaker Korthul explained. "Admiral Vorthon has convinced them that any sign of weakness will encourage other species to rebel. But if humanity could demonstrate their peaceful intentions..." "We've been trying to do that," Carter replied. "We've rescued enemy wounded. We've avoided civilian targets. What more can we do?" "Win," Fleet Wanderer Zex said simply. "Defeat the Council forces so decisively that continued war becomes impossible. Show the galaxy that humans fight only to defend themselves." Meanwhile, President Lisa Rodriguez was approving the most ambitious military operation in human history. Operation Prometheus would take the war directly to Council supply lines across multiple star systems. Instead of waiting for attacks, humanity would strike first. "Are you sure about this?" she asked General Hayes. "We'll be spreading our forces very thin." "It's our only chance," the general replied. "If we stay defensive, they'll eventually wear us down. But if we can disrupt their supply chains, we can win this war without destroying their homeworlds." Commander Nicole Fisher received the most dangerous assignment. Her small fleet would attack the primary Council staging area in the Alpha Centauri system. The base there supplied 3 different invasion fleets. Destroying it would cripple the Council's war effort. "How are we supposed to get past their defenses?" asked Captain Roy Adams, Fisher's second-in-command. Dr. Brooks had the answer. "Cloaking technology. We've reverse-engineered their stealth systems and improved them. For about 6 hours, your ships will be completely invisible." The technology was untested in real combat, but it was their only hope of success. Fisher's 12 ships would have to penetrate the most heavily defended system in Council space, destroy 3 massive supply depots, and escape before the cloak failed. Major Tony Clark's cyber warfare team provided additional support. The virus, they had planted in council networks was causing chaos throughout their territory. Supply convoys were being misdirected. Fleets were receiving contradictory orders. Some council ships were even firing on each other by mistake. "It's working better than we hoped," Clark reported to Admiral Parker. "Their entire command structure is falling apart. They don't know which orders are real and which are generated by our virus." Captain Jake Sullivan led another crucial mission. Intelligence had discovered a council prison world where captured humans were being held for biological research. The rescue mission would be almost as dangerous as Fisher's assault, but Sullivan volunteered immediately. "We don't leave people behind," he told his crew. "That's what makes us human." The prison world was heavily fortified, but Sullivan had learned to use council protocols against them. He approached the planet broadcasting fake council authorization codes generated by their hacked computer systems. "This is Admiral Vorthon's personal investigator," Sullivan announced to the prison guards. "I'm here to inspect the human specimens for the Admiral's special project." The guards, already confused by contradictory orders from their headquarters, allowed Sullivan's ships to land. By the time they realized something was wrong, Sullivan's Marines were already freeing the prisoners. What they found horrified them. The Council had been experimenting on captured humans, trying to understand what made them so effective in combat. Dozens of human soldiers and civilians had been subjected to terrible medical procedures. "Document everything," Sullivan ordered his people. "The galaxy needs to see what the Council really does to prisoners." Among the rescued prisoners was Major Kate Phillips, who had been captured during an early battle. She had been a prisoner for 8 months, but her spirit was unbroken. "They kept asking me why humans fight so hard," she told Sullivan. "I told them it's because we have something worth fighting for." The footage of the prison camp rescue spread across the galaxy within days. Alien civilians who had supported the war were shocked by what they saw. Many had been told that humans were treated according to galactic law. The reality was very different. Meanwhile, Fisher's attack on the Alpha Centauri base was succeeding beyond all expectations. The cloaked human ships had penetrated the system's defenses and destroyed 2 supply depots before anyone realized they were there. "Third target locked," reported Lieutenant Sam Walker from his fighter. Initiating attack run. The massive supply depot exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from orbit. Months of carefully stockpiled weapons and equipment were destroyed in seconds. 3 Council invasion fleets would have to delay their attacks while new supplies were gathered. But the real victory came when Fisher's ships prepared to leave. The cloak was failing, and Council reinforcements were arriving. Any normal retreat would result in the destruction of the human fleet. Instead, Fisher made a choice that shocked the galaxy. A Council hospital ship was caught in the explosion from the supply depot. Its crew was dying and it was drifting helplessly in space. "All ships change course," Fisher ordered. "We're going to rescue the survivors." "Commander," Captain Adams protested, "we don't have time. The Council fleet will be here in minutes." "We make time," Fisher replied firmly. "No one dies today, if we can help it." The human ships emerged from Cloak to rescue their enemies. Fisher's medical teams worked frantically to save alien lives while Council warships closed in on their position. They could have escaped easily, but they chose to risk everything to save people who had been trying to kill them. The rescue was broadcast live across the galaxy. Alien civilians watched in amazement as humans risked their own lives to save Council soldiers. It was the most powerful propaganda victory of the war. Dr. Brooks's final innovation was ready for deployment. The planetary defense grid he had designed could turn Earth's magnetic field into a massive electromagnetic pulse weapon. It would disable thousands of enemy ships at once, but it would also damage most of Earth's technology. "It's our ultimate, last resort," he explained to President Rodriguez. "If we use this, we won't be able to communicate with our own fleets for weeks, but it might be enough to end the war." Lieutenant Ryan Murphy had become humanity's most famous pilot. His squadron had destroyed over 300 enemy fighters without losing a single human ship. But more importantly, he had trained a new generation of pilots who fought with the same fearless creativity. "The key is to never do what they expect," he taught his students. "If their computers think you're going to turn left, turn right. If they think you're going to attack, retreat. If they think you're going to retreat, attack. His newest student was a former accountant named Betty Morgan, who had never flown anything more advanced than a civilian transport. But when she climbed into a swarm fighter, she became something extraordinary. I don't think about flying, she explained after her first combat mission. I just think about where I want to be, and the ship takes me there. The neural interface. Technology had evolved beyond Dr. Brooks's original design. The best human pilots were achieving a level of unity with their ships that bordered on telepathy. They could react to threats before their conscious minds even processed them. Admiral Vorth An was desperate. His carefully planned invasion had become a nightmare of human unpredictability and technological surprises. Worse, his own allies were beginning to question the war. We must destroy Earth immediately, he argued in an emergency council session. Every day we delay, more species begin to sympathize with the humans. But several council members were now openly opposing him. The Aquatic Federation had withdrawn their fleets from combat. The Crystal Collective was demanding negotiations. Even some of his own Saurian officers were expressing doubts. Perhaps we should consider the humans' peace offers, suggested Councillor Thexall from the Botanical Confederation. They have shown mercy to our people. They fight only to defend themselves. They are a threat to galactic order, Vorth An insisted. If we allow them to survive, other species will demand the same freedoms. The Council will lose all authority. The debate raged for hours, but Vorth An eventually won by a narrow margin. The hardliners would have one final chance to defeat humanity. Every available Council ship would be sent to Earth for a decisive battle. As the largest fleet in galactic history gathered for the final assault, humanity prepared for the ultimate test. Every ship they could fly would defend Earth. Every pilot who could hold a weapon would fight. The Council's final fleet was so large it blocked out the stars. 20,000 warships surrounded Earth in a sphere of death and metal. Admiral Vorth An stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet that had caused him so much trouble. Begin the final bombardment, he ordered. I want that world reduced to ash within the hour. But Earth was ready for them. Admiral Chris Parker coordinated the defense from his command station. Every human ship that could fly was in space. Military vessels fought alongside converted cargo haulers, luxury yachts, and even racing ships. If it had engines and could mount a weapon, it was part of Earth's fleet. All units, implement chaos. Protocol 7, Parker ordered. Make them think we've lost our minds. The human fleet scattered in all directions, following no pattern the alien computers could understand. Ships flew upside down, backwards, and in spirals. Some just stopped moving and hung motionless in space. Others accelerated straight toward the enemy at maximum speed. The Council fleet fired their weapons but hit mostly empty space. The humans were never where the targeting computers predicted they would be. Commander Nicole Fisher led the most critical mission of the war. Her volunteer squadron had to reach the Council flagship and disable its reality disruptor weapon. The device could sterilize Earth's entire biosphere with a single shot. Remember, she told her pilots, we only get one chance at this. The Unity. Drive will burn out our engines, so make it count. Her 12 ships activated the experimental drive system and shot toward the flagship like bolts of lightning. The alien point defense systems couldn't track them at those speeds. Within seconds, they were inside the enemy fleet's formation. Target the main weapon array, Fisher ordered. Everything we have, right into their primary reactor. The human ships dove straight into the flagship's superstructure, their guns blazing. Explosions rippled across the massive vessel's hull as its weapon systems overloaded. Fisher's ship was the last to strike, ramming directly into the reality disruptor's control center. The explosion tore the flagship in half, but it also destroyed Fisher's entire squadron. She had given her life to save Earth, and her sacrifice was not in vain. Captain Jake Sullivan watched the flagship die and felt his heart break. Fisher had been his friend for 20 years, but there was no time to mourn. The battle was far from over. All units, form up on me, he broadcast. We're going to hit their command ships while they're confused. His ragtag fleet of patrol vessels and converted civilian ships charged straight into the center of the enemy formation. The aliens, still reeling from the loss of their flagship, couldn't organize an effective defense. On Earth's surface, Dr. Kevin Brooks activated the planetary defense grid. The planet's magnetic field became a weapon, generating an electromagnetic pulse that swept through space like an invisible tsunami. Thousands of alien ships suddenly went dark as their electronics failed. The perfectly organized Council fleet began to drift apart as ships lost power and communication. Some collided with each other in the confusion. "It worked," Brooks shouted to his team. "The pulse took out at least half their fleet, but the weapon had a cost. Most of Earth's own technology was also disabled. Cities went dark. Communications failed. The planet was defenseless except for the ships already in space." Lieutenant Ryan Murphy led the final charge of the swarm fighters. His pilots had been fighting for 18 hours straight, but none of them showed any sign of giving up. They dove through the alien formations like deadly insects, stinging the giant ships and disappearing before retaliation could reach them. "This is for Commander Fisher," Murphy shouted as his fighters' guns tore into an alien cruiser's engine section. Behind him, pilot Betty Morgan performed an impossible maneuver, flying her fighter through the gap between two alien ships that were less than 10 meters apart. Her shots disabled both vessels' weapon systems. "How did you do that?" Murphy asked over the radio. "I didn't think about it," Betty replied. "I just wanted to be on the other side, so I went there." The neural interface technology had evolved beyond anything Dr. Brooks had imagined. The best human pilots were no longer flying their ships. They had become their ships. Thought and action were the same thing. Admiral Vorthian was frantic as he watched his fleet falling apart. The humans were fighting like nothing he had ever seen. They seemed to be everywhere at once, striking from impossible angles and vanishing before his guns could target them. "All ships converge on Earth," he ordered. "If we can't defeat them in space, we'll destroy their planet directly." But as the alien ships moved toward Earth, they flew straight into Captain Sullivan's trap. He had positioned his fleet exactly where the aliens would have to pass. Every human ship opened fire at once, creating a wall of destruction that the enemy couldn't avoid. The alien formation broke apart under the concentrated assault. Ships that had survived 1,000 battles were destroyed by converted mining vessels and civilian transports. The impossible was happening. Humanity was winning. The surface of Earth, President Lisa Rodriguez watched the battle from a darkened bunker. Emergency power kept the command center running, but most of the planet was without electricity. She could only hope that the sacrifice of so many brave people would be enough. "Madam President," her communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. They want to talk." The message came from Admiral Vorthian himself. His proud reptilian face looked defeated and exhausted. "President Rodriguez," he said, "I request an immediate ceasefire. The Council fleet surrenders." Rodriguez felt tears of relief running down her face. "Terms?" she asked. "Unconditional withdrawal from the Sol system," Vorthian replied. "The Galactic Council recognizes Earth's right to exist as a free and independent world. But even as the main fleet surrendered, hardline elements tried to continue the fight. Several Council species refused to accept defeat. They would rather destroy Earth than admit they had been wrong. These fanatics activated a doomsday weapon hidden in the asteroid belt. The device would create a black hole that would consume the entire Sol system. If they couldn't have victory, they would have revenge. Captain Sullivan's patrol fleet was the only human force close enough to stop them. His ships were damaged and low on ammunition, but he didn't hesitate. "All ships, maximum speed," he ordered. "We have to reach that weapon before it charges up." The race across the asteroid belt became the most desperate chase of the war. Human ships pushed their engines beyond safe limits, weaving between floating rocks while alien fanatics tried to stop them. Lieutenant Carol Spencer's fighter was the first to reach the weapon. Her ship was falling apart, held together by spare parts and determination. She had one chance to disable the device before it destroyed everything she loved. "This is for Earth," she whispered, and flew her dying fighter directly into the weapon's core. The explosion lit up space like a new star, The Doomsday device was destroyed, but Carol Spencer was gone, another hero who had given everything for humanity's survival. As the battle finally ended, the cost became clear. Earth had lost thousands of ships and tens of thousands of brave people, but they had won something precious: the right to exist as a free species in the galaxy. Ambassador Daniel Carter received representatives from across the galaxy. The old Galactic Council was dissolving, torn apart by the war and the revelations of their crimes. In its place, a new confederation was forming based on principles of equality and voluntary cooperation. No species will ever again face extinction. For refusing to surrender their freedom, Carter announced to the assembled delegates, "This is humanity's promise to the galaxy." The Terra Doctrine became the foundation of the new galactic government. Any species facing threats to their survival could call on the Confederation for protection. Earth's fleet, rebuilt and expanded, became the guardian of freedom throughout the stars. 5 years later, Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Discovery. His crew included humans, former council species, and even some of the aliens who had once tried to destroy Earth. They were exploring uncharted regions of the galaxy together, proving that former enemies could become friends. "New star system detected," reported his science officer, a crystalline being who had learned to appreciate human curiosity. "Shall we investigate?" Sullivan smiled as he looked out at the stars. "That's what we do. We explore, we learn, we grow, and we make sure everyone else has the same chance we fought for." In the rebuilt cities of Earth, children of many species played together in the parks. Overhead, ships bearing the symbol of the Galactic Confederation launched toward distant stars, carrying a message of hope to worlds that had never known freedom. The war was over. Humanity had not just survived, but had changed the galaxy forever. They had proven that no force in the universe was stronger than the determination of people fighting for their right to be free. The stars belonged to everyone now, and Earth had made sure it would stay that way. In schools across the galaxy, young beings of many species learned about the war that changed everything. They learned about courage, sacrifice, and the power of never giving up. Most importantly, they learned that freedom was not something that could be given or taken away. It was something that had to be fought for, again and again, by every